Hello. Hopefully I did not break the stream. Okay, looks like I didn't break the stream. I think the countdown music was not working, so and now we have an echo because I had myself open in a tab. Hello, welcome to the live stream. We're going to talk about impulse spending today, and I brought this up because it seems like a lot of people are struggling with it, and I think there's probably a relation between like how stressful the world is right now and how much this seems to keep popping up for people. But I also think it can be the change in seasons. Like if you're in the northern hemisphere and it's getting darker, it's getting colder, you're inside more. You have like if you're someone who a lot of your impulse spending is online, this is the perfect time to sit and scroll in the dark. You've got hours before bed, but after dark. And what better time to fill your cart to decide you need to research a new dish rack and spend 5 hours researching a dish rack, even though you already have a dish rack. So, I thought we would talk about this on the live stream because I've been seeing a lot of it. Winter says it seems fine. That's good. Aaron redid my stream like 6 weeks ago, and it my whole stream deck, and it isn't quite, I don't quite have the muscle memory yet, so I turned off the stream, but I think I turned it right back on after I realized it, because the place where the button used to be for me to start the stream and switch to the main camera is now where the turn it on or offline so that it would stop like delivering the signal to YouTube is. So anyway, I'm doing great. Winter says, look, I need all of the Halloween washi. Don't judge. I'm not judging, but what I will say, as someone who also justifies Halloween washi pretty heavily because I run a Halloween-themed budgeting challenge every year. So I'm always like, oh, well, I need things to decorate the envelopes out when I send people their budgetober stickers. Then here's what I did to avoid any impulse spending on stationery this essentially fall. Here's the things I did. Maybe these will work for you, maybe these won't. This is very specific to what worked for me. One, about 7 weeks ago, I quit Instagram. Instagram was the main platform where I would engage with stationery content. I even have like an explicit stationery account. I do still have to be on Instagram for work, but I took it off my phone and I'm only checking it when I need for reporting purposes. And that has been really good because I haven't been finding out about launches. I haven't been in this situation where I look a little too long at someone's Instagram post about cute, Archer and Olive Halloween themed notebooks, and then I start getting served ads to them nonstop. That has not been happening, which has in fact been a really good strategy. The other thing I did was a couple weeks ago, I was homesick, and because of that, I organized all of my stickers. And I did a little bit of reorganization of my washi tape dispenser. This is actually like this little washi tape thing was a very good organizing investment. Usually those like explicit organizing things that are for organizing one type of thing are like a ripoff. But I'm really happy with this. I bought this maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Anyway, there is a natural limit. And if all of my washi tape cannot fit in this 3-tier washi tape thing, then I don't need any more. It also makes it easy to see what I have. So the reason why organizing your stationery or whatever the thing it is for you can make it easier to like resist the impulse spending is because once you get confronted with how much you have, it can make it a lot easier to go, oh my gosh, I do not need to buy anymore. For a lot of people that have kind of a collector mentality, or they really feel like they need to have a lot of something in order for it to be more valuable, or they maintain like an idea that they need complete sets of things. This is just a personality trait a lot of people have. It's a very common game mechanic as well, as like having you collect things. If you recognize that trait within yourself, but you are also stressed either space-wise or financially from the amount of purchases you're doing in that category. Maybe like stationery is a great example where like maybe you do have the discretionary income to be buying a bunch of Halloween washi tape. But like quite reasonably, it like doing that may impact or slow down other financial goals that you have set for yourself. If you're in this situation where it actually is impacting you financially, like you are spending so much on stationery that you are having to put it on Afterpay, or you're, buying it in installments or putting it on a credit card, or you still have high interest consumer debt, but you're spending money on things to decorate your planner, that is a sign that you need to really check in with yourself about where you want to be with your financial priorities, because every single one of those purchases is setting back your future goals, right? Like if you're using that washi tape to decorate your list of your financial goals for the year, and one of them is to pay down your credit cards, but you, instead of putting money towards your credit cards, you're putting it towards more washi tape, then that is one of those situations. I'm not saying that to say that anybody listening is in that specific group, but like be aware of the warning signs of financial balance. Can only pay or can't pay minimum payments on debt. Don't have a plan for financial future. Is making decisions that they regret for financial purchases. Can't afford even a short time off work. Those are all examples of warning signs of financial imbalance that come from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And if you find yourself in that camp while also doing impulse spending on things that that are not necessary for you, you have to sit down and have a real reconciliation with yourself. And you need to start putting in safeguards, right? So this happens with a lot of people in recovery. I was actually talking to one of my skating friends who's in long-term recovery, very involved in 12-step. And he was like, yeah, here's my thing. I have a lot of destructive personality traits. I have a lot of things that manifest as addiction for me. And there are things I can do that would actually destroy my life, or I could buy a new hat. And that is one of the things where you often see that someone has replaced a destructive habit with a slightly less destructive habit. And that destructive habit might be the impulse spending, the collections. But you have to look at the like long-term cost of those purchases. One of the things that I like to walk through whenever I'm thinking about making some kind of purchase that is non-essential, where is it going to get stored? And this feels very relevant right now because our house is bursting. But it also has been a little challenging to kind of dial in on right now because we are awaiting moving into a much bigger house. But I am not buying anything for that house unless I know that it has a home in the house right now, which is why I now did buy something that this was not an impulse purchase because it was something I genuinely wanted. I waited for a long time for it. I researched if I was getting the best price. I tried to get it secondhand first, and then I determined that the sale was a real sale, and I finally pulled the trigger on buying it. But I got a little green machine carpet upholstery cleaner. So I've been thinking about getting this for maybe like 2 or 3 years, but I finally identified that it was truly on sale. It was truly the right price. And we were eminently in the situation where there will be a place to store it. However, we currently live in a 550 square foot studio that has a giant cat wheel in the middle of it that the cats don't use. And that means now I bought a new machine that is just sitting in the middle of the floor. That's great. I need to deal with that. So thinking about where you're going to store it is, I think, really, really helpful. Um, the one of so how do you like get to the point where you're not? There's kind of two paths of dealing with impulse spending. One of the path is the avoiding even the temptation. So setting up guardrails in place where you are not being constantly marketed to and fed to. And one of the easiest ways to do that is exactly but what Winter was saying, is unsubscribing from all the emails. Yes, this is a huge deal, and it makes a huge difference, I would say. Aaron, my chat is not showing up on my screen. It is running. It's just not, it's behind. It's behind. It's showing up in OBS. But it's there, but it's not showing up. Yeah. Do you like when we go? Let's see if this works again. Oh, look at that. I had to turn it off, turn it back on. Okay, so there's two paths. One is the like avoiding the temptation in the first place. The strategies for this, if it's online shopping, are exactly what Winter is saying, is like unsubscribing from emails. When I did a clothing no buy and a stationery no buy last year, I did dual duty for this. I unsubscribed from a bunch of brands like email lists because I would start like calculating. A lot of the clothing brands that I like are quite expensive, like niche indie brands. So they tell you about launches coming up. They you'll get time to like budget and shop ahead of time of going live, but pieces will sell out really quickly. And all of that, I actually don't like that shopping experience. I know a lot of people get like the thrill and the high of like getting something before someone else gets it. I do not like it. Also, it does not help that like a lot of the brands I like are in Central Europe, and therefore like the sales often start at like 3 a.m. my time, and I'm like, I'm getting up at 3 a.m. to buy an $100 sweater. It's really reasonable. Unsubscribing from store lists. Here's the thing that I try to tell myself, because I have this problem of like being like, well, but what if I need this and I'm not on the email list anymore and I won't know about sales? And maybe you kind of deal with like a similar processing. But I always come back to the like, why do you want to remove yourself from this list? Well, I want to remove the self from my list because I know I don't necessarily need more sweaters. I know I don't need more pretty notebooks. And in the end, for any purchase, you should be fairly confident with a sale that you would buy it at full price. And the reason that you are buying it on sale is because you wanted it anyway, and this is truly a deal. It isn't savings if you're buying something on sale that you didn't want before you walked into the store, right? In fact, that is actually purchasing something new, and it is putting you financially worse off than before when you didn't know about it. So an example for me, which a brand I really like for activewear, is Pop Flex Clothing. And the creator was like one of the OG like fitness YouTubers. And she's the designer for it. She does excellent design process videos. And she is such a good marketer that every time I watch one of those, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that I needed a, onesie for painting my yard with cargo pockets, but now I do. And I respect her hustle. I love the clothing that she makes. But frankly, I will end up making the decision to get it when I need it. And then I will search out sales, figure out when the sales are. You do not need to be constantly inundated with those emails, especially now that so many brands are using Shopify for their web stores, including mine. Shopify's like retargeting emails are exceptional. And you will be, as soon as you look at anything that has a Shopify store, you will start getting emails. You will start getting, coupons and stuff like that in your inbox. What this, even though this is absolutely a marketing tactic and it is a sales capture tactic, I like to use this to my advantage when it comes to certain types of purchases, because you can tell yourself, well, I'm going to put this in a cart. I'm going to sit on it for 24 or 48 hours or a week or 2 weeks, and I will get a retargeting email. So I'm going to get an email that's going to offer me a 10% or a 15% coupon. And guess what? That is going to end up making this at the price that I want to pay. Or by the time that I get that retargeting email, I'm going to go, actually, I don't think I needed this, hot pink running onesie as much as I thought I did. So that is one of the really helpful tactics, is the avoidance tactic, where you don't put the stuff in front of you. Using ad blockers, not following the brands on social media. One of the options is to just truly get off social media, which has been really nice. YouTube is really the only social media I'm actively using right now, and it's been really great. And at varying rates, I've been quitting them. And Instagram was one of the most pervasively hard. One of the reasons that Instagram was the hardest to stop is because a lot of businesses pretty much only operate on Instagram now. So when I'm traveling and I want to find out the hours for a restaurant, it's always on their Instagram bio. And half of them don't have websites, half of them don't have their Yelp or their Google updated anymore. That it can be really challenging to find out about launch dates or information, because a lot of smaller creators, stationery and clothing brands, are doing most of their advertising on Instagram. But you have to remember what the flip side of that is. One of the reasons it's inconvenient to be off Instagram, if you're used to it and you want to find information out about restaurants or clothing brands or stationery shops, is because it is such an effective marketing platform that everyone has decided it's the only thing they need. And so you have to think about is it worth to sell my attention, my time, my money, and my work to all of these people? My eyeballs are worth something to this feed. Is that what do I want to give it to them? Right. And I think that can be very valuable. This is not going to turn into a social media rant page, I swear, but it has greatly improved my mental health to be off it, even though it is occasionally inconvenient for someone who reports. Okay, so that's part of the avoidance tactic. What if in-person impulse purchases is one of the things you struggle with? So a lot of people will struggle with food. One of the avoidance tactics that you can use when it comes to impulse spending, if it's less like the online sphere, so whatever, you don't like checking out from websites, whatever, but you have a lot of trouble. You go to the grocery store hungry, you buy a bunch of snacks. This happens to me a lot because of the way that I've set up my day off. So I work out in the morning, I come home, I clean the house, I then go and I skate for a couple hours. Then I go get my donut for the live stream. Then I go to the grocery store. And I have a list, which is a very good tactic for avoiding impulse spending, is being okay, I've made the list ahead of time. I made the list when I was calm. I actually meal planned or prepped or came up with a mechanism. By the way, Aaron, are you going to put that away or no? Later? Okay. The lettuce might want to go in the fridge. Okay. I just noticed that our CSA is still sitting on the counter because Aaron brought it in right after I started. So you might have so one of the problems that I have is I go into the grocery store that is snack palooza of Trader Joe's, and even though I am working off a list, I will be hungry by that point. It'll be later in the day. I'll have some level of decision fatigue that's kicked in at that point, and my willpower is lower, right? Your willpower is the best usually for most people in the morning. And it sort of wears down over the course of the day. And you can build willpower like a muscle, but it can be really hard if you're stopping at the grocery store when you're hungry and exhausted at the end of work, and then a workout, at the end of like wrangling children around, and you're very frazzled because you also had to bring the kids into the store and you're just very stressed. Well, guess what? One of the ways that a lot of people will deal with that is by impulse spending. And it might be snacks. It might be buying, pre-prepared foods that you originally were not thinking that you were going to buy, but then you just got exhausted and you couldn't think about like what you were going to do because you didn't meal plan, or they just looked really good and you're like, I'm going to do this. It might be buying things that don't meet your like financial objectives. Like maybe you were like, oh no, I'm really going to get the budget version of this. And then suddenly you're in the store and you're like, that looks really good, even though it's out of my budget. One of the big ones can end up being literally the impulse items at the cashier checkout. One of the options to kind of avoid that is to do another activity when you're in the line. So I like to like start filling in my budget on my YNAB budgeting app while I'm waiting in the checkout so that I don't look at the impulse items. In a lot of stores, especially if you're with kids at like a big box store, a lot of them now have checkouts that are like the family friendly checkouts. And often they will not have candy. And they also like won't have any magazines with like boobs on the front covers like out. But that actually can be really helpful even if you're not shopping with kids or whatever. The family-friendly checkouts can be a really good way to kind of avoid that. Another option is if you are going to a store with a self-checkout and it like works otherwise, you are doing something the whole time you're in the self-checkout, and most of the self-checkouts have a lot less room for impulse items. So if you're someone that finds yourself like grabbing like the candy or a magazine or a book of Sudoku or whatever it is, going to the self-checkout can mean that you might be like very focused on the bagging and everything else. Another way of doing avoidance, if you really struggle with this, is grocery pickup, which can be or delivery if that's available to you financially and in your area. But grocery pickup can be excellent. It's also excellent if you have to wrangle small kids, right? It's because you're not going into the store at all. You're not looking at the impulse items, and you can make the order when you have a quiet, calm time and you're not in that stress state of mind. Like going to the grocery store thirsty is one of the fastest ways to end up impulse buying, because we already know that your body ends up being it has less willpower when it's being tested on other platforms, right? It makes it harder to make good grocery decisions. If I'm hungry when I get to the grocery store, assuming I have to go in, not just pick up, I'll buy one banana, eat it, and then shop. Ooh, that's a really good tactic right there. This is very good, and I think it works if you have this moral compass to tap into. Thinking about the environmental impact of manufacturer, a lot of optional stuff keeps me from buying it all the time, usually at least. Yes, I think that ends up being quite valuable. One of my big impulse item sections for me is used clothing, and that can be one of the challenges because I will be like, well, the environmental impact is just the shipping, so it doesn't really matter. But I obviously, when I look at like the insane collection of like planners and notebooks I have, I'm like, oh my God. But really like cheap plastic crap from China, which ends up being a lot of people's impulse purchases, there is massive environmental impacts to that. Another cute purse that is plastic. Getting some sort of gadget for your house when you already have something similar to it and you're not using it. Ursula, I love this question. Do I want it for my entire life? Reduces some of the urge. Yes, I'm a huge fan of like impulse buying checklists, and I actually use like a pretty like I have like a little checklist that I use for all my purchases. So if you are in the situation of you're thinking about an impulse purchase, but it isn't a true whoa, impulse purchase, like you're grabbing candy in 2 seconds at the checkout, but it's something where you're like ruminating on it. Have I thought about it for at least 2 weeks? And I think 2 weeks is a pretty good amount. I usually up that for myself a little bit because I tend to ruminate like on all of my purchase decisions for a long period of time. I often think about things for like 6 months to 2 years. When it comes to that, tracking what you want to buy can make this really helpful because sometimes you can look back and be like, oh my God, why did I want to buy that thing? If you are struggling with like, oh, but I might get this and it might improve my life so much. There's a cat on my lap if you can't tell by the little tail that was appearing in front of my face. Okay. Oh, okay. We're taking a bath on my lap now. All right. I feel like it always looks weird when I just have like hands moving and you can only see the top of me. The other cat is behind my head right there. But I think 2 weeks is like kind of a good metric because a lot of those, you'll get a little distance from the initial wanting it. So, that is, that also can help if you're someone who sees something on sale and goes, oh my gosh, I have to have this. So, some people are very bad at kind of resisting time pressure when it comes to purchase decisions. So a great example of this is one of the clothing brands that I like that's pretty expensive. Their headquarters is based in Portland. So every year, year and a half, they'll do a warehouse sale here. People fly in from like around the country to go to this warehouse sale. And it has the fervor of a bunch of merino wool loving middle-aged women, nothing like it when it comes to strategic shopping. So obviously you have to make the decisions right then and there. But if you walk in with a list and you essentially say, I'm not going to buy anything that's black because I know I have enough black things. I really want to get this style of skirt, or I really need to get merino wool leggings. And if they're not there, not being like upset that you didn't buy anything when you waited in line. This is one of those like things where you have to have some structures around how you approach something like that if you know that time pressure is going to get to you. I think a lot of people, when they go to stuff like warehouse sales or a Black Friday sale, there's this sunk cost fallacy of, well, I came here and my list was to get a big screen TV, or I came here and my list was to get, half-priced merino leggings, but they didn't have it. But I can't, stood in line for 2 hours, so I have to leave with something. What's better is to reframe to yourself, well, I stood in line for 2 hours, but now I'm buying something that I wasn't on my list, that I didn't identify as a need, that I haven't been thinking about. Now, how many extra hours of my life do I have to work for that thing that I've just bought that wasn't on the needs list? You're throwing good money after bad if you're buying something that you don't need because you are upset that you didn't get, that you didn't find the thing you were looking for. I see this happening all the time with like time pressure sales where people end up in that situation. I mean, this is why like the Target dollar spot exists. The other thing is, think about solving problems in your house or in your life more than you think about the objects that you are buying. So frame things around the idea of, I need to solve the problem of my feet keep getting wet when I bike to work in the winter. If you obsess too much over, it has to be this mid-length boot, it has to be from this certain company, or I really need this really great giant $50 water bottle or whatever, because I keep seeing it and it supports my core value of my health and it'll keep me hydrated. Start to look at other ways to solve that problem. And that can help you. Using a less good way of solving that problem can help you actually really narrow down on what you truly want out of something. So, an example would be like the water bottle. You're like, oh, I need this like great, insulated water bottle because it's the only way that I'm going to drink enough water every single day. Well, have you tried using one of the existing water bottles that you have? Have you tried looking in the lost and found for something that's about to be thrown out? Because, man, there is a lot of lost and found water bottles. My library would always like put them out when they were about to be, like, nobody had picked them up in 6 months. And I swear that's how I got all my water bottles for years, was from the library about to go pile. Try to solve the problem in a cheaper or existing way, and then you can identify the problems within that to help you kind of narrow it down. And then it's not impulse spending. It's something that you've thought through, you've really done, but try to solve the problem first, right? If the problem is you're not drinking enough water, you don't need the $50 water bottle to solve that problem. It might make it easier once you have it, but try to solve the problem first and then figure out ways to make it better after that. The other big thing is to figure out your real hourly wage. So it's very common to think about how many hours you need to work to afford something. I think a lot of people are familiar with that. If you make $20 an hour and you want to buy something that is $50, you have to work 2.5 hours for that. But I like to really think more, okay, and then a handy rule of thumb, if you don't know your hourly wage because you get paid on a salaried basis, is usually divided essentially by 200. So if you make a $40,000 salary, then your hourly wage is $20, or you could double your hourly wage and you'll get your annual salary. So if your hourly wage is $20 and you double it and add 2 zeros to the end, that would be your salary. So a $20 an hour salary is about $40,000 a year if you work full time. So that's just a handy rule of thumb that you can kind of use to go back and forth. But so if you're salaried and you make $80,000 a year, you make essentially $40 an hour. But even better is to work out what your discretionary income is. So my day job, I make about $85,000 a year now. And so that makes my hourly wage is around, $42.50. Aaron, I told you to open the fridge, but now the fridge has just blown the brightest light into my face. It's actually blinding me. Wow. That's the reflection from the fridge. If you can see it on the stream, it looks like you can see the light dancing around there. I'm really learning my lessons here. But your real hourly wage is start to think about your discretionary income. So most of us have bills to pay and necessary household expenses. So for me, my real hourly wage ends up being of discretionary income ends up being closer to about $10 to $15 an hour. And that's because essentially I have about 20% of my total income to play with after I account for my savings goals, which I already have set, and my my retirement automatic, and then all of my core expenses, my housing, my food, my transportation, my set bills and expenses. And so then when I look at actually discretionary income, it gives me a better idea. And I go essentially like, okay, well, let's say it's $15 an hour is my real discretionary wage when it comes to impulse spending. How many hours am I going to need to work to reasonably have that kind of thing once I've met all of my other obligations? So if you just did it based on my hourly wage, that $50 water bottle, I just work an hour and, 10 minutes or whatever for it. But if we look at the other wage and we look at my discretionary income, so let's say it's $15 an hour, then suddenly I need to work quite a bit longer for it. And this can make a huge difference if you're living very close to the margin. You do not have a lot of discretionary money because you are on benefits or you're low income. This is one of those areas where it can make a huge difference, because I see a lot of people doing mental math, gymnastics, using this hourly wage without really accounting for the fact that most of that money is already accounted for. It's kind of just a different way to frame a budget, but just telling people to be on a budget to avoid impulse spending doesn't work. One of the other avoidance tactics that I like to recommend is to change your routine to avoid it. So let's say you're in the situation like me where you end up buying a bunch of Trader Joe's snacks because you keep going there when you're hungry, because you're trying to chain all of these errands together, which is what I do on my day off. And it just doesn't make sense to go, at any other time. But if I find myself consistently getting things that I find regrettable, making impulse purchases, maybe you go to the grocery store at a different time of day, on a different day of the week. Maybe you do grocery pickup. Maybe you keep here's a great example from my real life at work. We have one of those honor vending machines at work, and the vast majority of the stuff in there I am not interested in, but there are Skittles. And I like Skittles. I do not like Skittles at $2.59 a pack. I don't know if you've noticed, but being in news lately has been very stressful, and there has really been a lot of things going on in the news. And I have been noticing that I will get a sugar craving that will kick in around 3 p.m. So if I get there at 7 a.m. on my weekdays when I'm not hosting, and I eat my lunch at 11 a.m. and I file my story, as soon as I hit the part of the day where my energy is crashing, I will want a sugar hit. So it'll be 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and my brain will be oh my gosh, let's go get some Skittles. But I don't want to spend $2.59 on Skittles. So I have to start setting up ways that I can kind of avoid it. One option is I just try to avoid going downstairs. The vending machine is actually quite far from my desk. So if I don't have time, I can't go down there and effectively get it. Another option is the machine takes Apple Pay, by the way. So if I have my phone, which I have to have at work because we have 2-factor authentication for everything, then I can buy stuff on there. One of the other options is that maybe the sugar craving is actually just a need to get away from my desk. I've been in a dark room all day staring at a screen, and I, have been doing something that is presumably mentally taxing. Maybe what I need is a walk around. Maybe I actually just want to get up from my desk. So I have a couple strategies. One is I bring a healthy, fun snack, and I don't put it in my lunchbox. A little thing, a fruit leather or some kind of sweet little energy bar, maybe cherries when we had cherries in the summer. I will bring it, but I won't put it in my lunchbox. I'll actually put it in a fridge in a different part of the office. So when I get there and my willpower is high, I will separate those two things. And then that makes me remember that I have a little treat, and it satisfies the little treat part of me for a lot less than $2.59. Plus Skittles don't they don't make me feel great after I eat them. So that's one of the strategies that you can use is can you alter or change your routine, or can you be proactive about, dealing with impulsive spending? Another option, if you are acquiring things, if you are buying things that you then regret or you don't use, especially if you have stuff that's still unopened that you bought and then you thought it was going to solve all your problems, but the luster was already worn off by the time it arrived, you could start returning things. And one of the options, if you're in the situation where you are acquiring things you don't need, and you want to kind of avoid impulse spending is one, start returning stuff. And then two, ask yourself when you're thinking about buying something, do I want to go through the pain in the butt of returning this item? Because frankly, returns, I find them very inconvenient. And if you are in the situation where you know you hate doing returns and you start making yourself do them to one, recoup some of the expenses on the things that you like haven't even opened or you don't like or it didn't work or it didn't fit. Two, you'll now start to process the idea that when you buy something that might not work, that, you know, you're just to scratch like a momentary itch, you are then going to have to return it. The 3 p.m. sugar craving is so real. It's even more annoying because it hits at like 10 a.m. when I'm on air and I start my shift at and I start my shift at 4:30. I'm like, then it hits at like 10:30, 11 a.m. It's like, ugh. When I buy bananas, by the time they're at the ripeness I want, it's already time to go grocery shopping again. Well, maybe you should buy bananas at the store that are at perfect ripeness so that you can avoid impulse spending in the store. I don't know. I thought that was like a pretty good tactic that Rural has there. The buy one banana, eat it. I feel like that gives you the hit of like the sugar and the potassium. You know what? I'm realizing that my computer is like not as charged as I hope it was. And I'm going to find out if this has enough power to at least keep it on battery. Because my cord is not really long enough for this. It says it's charging. It's probably going to just tell me that it's plugged in but not charging. Yeah, okay. Because I just plugged in my like phone cord to my computer, which is not enough power for the whole laptop. Okay, so other impulse spending strategies. So here to kind of stop first tier, avoidance. Find ways to not be tempted in the first place. Unsubscribe from emails, stop following brands on social media, turn off tracking, turn on ad blockers so that you are not being constantly consumed by that. Avoidance in real life. Go through different checkouts. Try to, change your routine so that you're not going to places where you're tempted at times when you are most tempted. Like, don't go to the cute tiny figurine store always after therapy when you decide that you need a cute tiny figurine to make you feel better after therapy, right? Like, change your routine so that you can avoid kind of doing those things. If you have a food or a grocery kind of impulse shopping situation, one of the ways that you can practice avoidance when you still do need to buy food is do things like go through the checkouts that don't have that are family friendly and they don't have the impulse snacks in there, the making sure that you're well fed when you arrive, or doing pickup. Making a list can help too, as long as you feel like you can actually stick to the list. I like to do +1 and to the list. That's where my impulse spending comes in. Another option is to find restrictive ways. So if you're someone that in person does impulse spending, having a cash only budget for items where you are likely to do this. So if you're someone that is going to go to the flea market and do impulse spending, only bring the amount that you want to spend, right? And only bring it in cash. Don't carry around the cards with you at all. Turn off Apple Pay on your phone or whatever, Google Pay or whatever you have on Android phones. Then that can be a really effective way, a cash budget or a cash envelope system. I am one of those people that I get cash and it just runs through my fingers. I don't know where it goes. And because of that, my strategy is I don't keep cash. And that is because cash to me, it's it's already spent. I've already pulled it out of the ATM. And I think it comes from years of service industry where it was kind of your side money, your tip money or whatever. And then it was your fun money. but it just runs away. I find it harder to track. I'm not as good at like manually entering cash transactions. And so one of my options is I just don't have a lot of cash. And then when I need cash for a specific reason, I either try to use the Bank of Aaron, who has a lot of cash. Ow. Really? Really? Don't show everyone your... That was very important for her to do. You know someone who I think should never have a credit card? Machka. She really struggles with a lot of impulse control. And I think she would be really a full impulse spender. Ooh, I like this, Ursula. I'm trying to put ideas for fun purchases on a budget closeout treat list. Finish out the budget for the month equals new pen. I think that's a great idea. I like to do, I'm a big fan of treats. You have to be good at the delayed gratification sort of thing. I also love the idea of like, it's like a closeout for it. I think new pens are a good option. I like to like link the thing that I want to some sort of accomplishment or goal that is not simply like I saved the money, because often the stuff that I want impulse wise, or not, let's just not even say impulse, but let's say like discretionary purchases that I want to get that I don't really need, often fall into the category of things that I wouldn't have to work that long to get them. I could afford them. They're not going to affect my other financial goals, but like, do I really need them? And they're often linked to activities that I do. So a great example was I did a 28-day, I actually ended up doing 29 because I forgot it was a leap day, but February of last year, I did 29 straight days of going to the yoga studio. It was just a challenge I set for myself because I was like, wait, this is the shortest month of the year. Also, it's like dark outside, and I just don't know if I need like motivation to go to the gym every day. And at the end of doing that, I let myself buy a new yoga mat. I had never actually paid for my yoga mat. I had gotten it because I didn't know if I was going to stick with yoga. A bunch of years ago, I didn't know if I was going to stick with yoga, and I wanted to try it out. So I asked a friend, hey, I asked like kind of on a friends group, like, hey, does anybody have a yoga mat they're not using? Because I was like, surely this is the kind of thing where people have bought it and then they've never gone back to yoga again. Can I like have your old yoga mat for me to try it out? I ended up sticking with it. That yoga mat went through like 500, 600 hours of yoga classes over the years. And I think I used it for almost 10 years. But it had gotten to the point where, especially during lockdown, my late cat Dora had done a lot of stretching with me. She likes to show off when I'm stretching that she is very good at stretching. And so she had put a lot of claw marks in it. And it had gotten to the point where when I was taking it into in-person yoga classes, it was like so pockmarked and like little bits of the mat were flaking off. And then I was like, oh, well, this is just now embarrassing because I'm having to like clean up the little bits of the mat. Ended up being a very good thrift purchase, but I didn't want to like get into this like mental thing of I have to get the best yoga mat, blah, 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 blah. So I linked it to an actual goal for myself. So I made it related. I get this nice yoga mat after I complete the 29 straight days of yoga. And I did that and it's been great. And I've had that yoga mat now for a year and a half, I guess. So that's one of the things that you can do is like, look at that. I also think just maintaining a list of things that you have the impulse to buy, but you don't need to buy, that you talked yourself out of for whatever reason, can actually be a good way of giving yourself a little treat when you do have something to celebrate. So I maintain a things I want list. This only really works, I think, for someone who's like super analytical, but I have this list. I've been maintaining it since I was like 18. It's gone through a couple different iterations of like the format that it's in, but I'm pretty sure if you go to ohmydollar.com/things I want, you can get a printable one. The list that I use now is like a sortable spreadsheet, and I can put stuff and the link and how much I want it and how many hours I have to work for it and what of my core values it fits, and then the date that it entered and the price. And it will automatically do a ratio of like how much it costs to how much I want, because I asked to rate on a scale of 0 to 10, like how much I want it. And it's actually really fun to go back and look at that list and see what I bought what I wanted to buy when I was 18 versus what I want to buy in my late 30s. And it is also very, very helpful because it helps me know if something is a real sale. So there's an awful lot of fake sales out there on the internet. It's very easy to do. I can even do it on my own website, where you go into and it looks like something is on sale and that it's a limited time sale. And 90% of the time, that's a freaking lie these days. And what is helpful is if you're tracking it, you're sitting on it, you're thinking about it, then you'll know if something is a real sale. So the example that I have that I just bought was this steam cleaner that I've wanted for a couple years now. It's not a steam cleaner. It's what is it? Carpet cleaner, upholstery cleaner. I've wanted it for a couple years. I chatted with people. I watched a lot of reviews. I talked with people that had it in real life. And I determined, I looked to buy it used, but one of the problems I was having is a lot of people that were selling it on Marketplace were like missing pieces that I needed. So I ended up being like, also the going place price on Marketplace for it was like not that much less than the sale priced online. So what I started doing was that I had alerts set for when it dropped below a certain price. And when it did actually go on sale below a certain price, I was able to jump on it and know this has been on the list for a year and a half. This is how long I have to work. This is a real sale. This is not a fake sale. And it made it a lot easier to kind of do one of those categories of purchases. So where is the cat now? Now she's taking a nap. Y'all, we've outlasted this light. I think this light's battery is just really crap now. We have 2 donuts today, so I should probably introduce you to the donuts. Anybody want to give us a discretionary purchase they're thinking about that they want to go through the checklist I have and answer the questions, or share your tactics for avoiding impulse purchases, or tell me where your worst impulse purchases are while we do these donuts? This is Talking Dough and Eating Donuts, so we do eating. Okay, here is, there's 2 donuts today because we are into the month where the options change. This one is a pear chai fritter. So it is, it has local pears and then a house chai blend glaze, and it is a fritter. And then this one is an old-fashioned, but it's an ube old-fashioned. So it's an old-fashioned donut with ube, and then it has coconut glaze and then crushed coconut cream cookies. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited. People can tell me which one they most want me to try first. I kind of think this one is a little less intimidating. Also, I'm very excited about the old fashioned, so I think we'll go for this one first. Should I give you a proper view? I do love the little stripes there. I definitely thought it was cookies and cream with chocolate, and I thought you were going to hate it. There is like some chocolate in the cookies, but I think it's going to be light enough. I might be able to like it. I do like ube. Oh my gosh, look how purple it is. Here, let me do the overhead camera. It's so purple. It looks like chocolate on the outside, but then you bite into it. It is chocolatey. Aaron's ignoring me the whole time and then suddenly appears as a tiny puppy behind the camera. He's trying to manifest this into his mouth. The thing is, like, I don't know if I'm getting the coconut in the glaze. This is a very good donut. I don't like chocolate, and I'm liking this. Would you like a treat? Better not finish that. I think that is... I think it's a 4 out of 5. It might be a 4.5 out of 5. The fact that I don't like chocolate and I've been liking it so much. Oh my God, Maggie into Woods, this is brilliant. I have been making entire sheet cakes and then freezing it all in pieces so I can have a little really good treat at home when I want one instead of buying anything. One cake lasts over a month. That's brilliant. That's an excellent way to have a little treat. Because my problem is that I'll realize I didn't buy any little treats because I was being very responsible. And while I don't end up eating any of the little treats, I'm cranky that I don't have any treats when I want a little treat at home. What's your rating?
Very good. 5 out of 5.
Okay, Aaron says 5 out of 5 for this guy. I like that it matches my shirt. I think mine is 4.5 out of 5 because I like it despite it having chocolate. Would you like to finish it?
I can't chat in your stream because it says I'm not subscribed.
You're not subscribed to my YouTube channel?
Definitely am.
I wonder how many other people are not able to chat right now because they are supposed to be subscribed. I'm very curious. If there's other people, but we'll never know if there's other people watching that can't chat. Aaron says he can't chat because it says he not subscribed. What is Tubi? I've been curious about what Tubi is, because as my one social media left, the place where I'm getting my AI slop, short form versions of television promo trailers is YouTube Shorts, because YouTube Shorts is really just like, it's just sprays and it's a cannon and it's trying to decide. I saw a show and I saw that it was streaming on Tubi and I was like, oh, because I'm not paying for any streaming services except I pay for YouTube Premium. It gets an anti-chocolate bump. I think that's fair. Like the fact that I like it, even though it isn't. Okay, we have to fill in the rating. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. And now, should we eat the other donut? Aaron, you're logged in as me. You just chatted a blank chat. As
No, I
me.
turned off subscribers only mode.
Oh no. You're gonna make it break everything. Tubi is a free streaming app. The original content is deeply terrible but wildly entertaining. It's the modern UFH. What is UFH? Oh, they have But I'm a Cheerleader. I was just recently thinking that But I'm a Cheerleader I'm due for a rewatch of But I'm a Cheerleader. The one that I was thinking about watching is Versailles, which I think is like a soap opera based on the making of Versailles and Louis and his wife and his lover and everything. I don't know. Felt like it could be good. One of my favorite stories about But I'm a Cheerleader is that the main actress in But I'm a Cheerleader was like, she was like, I have to get this, I have to get this part, Natasha Lyonne. But she wasn't like what the director imagined. So she like dressed up in the full, Natasha Lyonne was like, you know, kind of a more, what she is now. She's like a very kind of like strung out. She's like a former child actress. She had essentially stopped acting because she had a really traumatic, like awful childhood. But then she got this script and was like, oh my God, I have to act in this. I have to be in this. And but it was for like a very perky cheerleader and not like a wry, you know, heroin chic kind of actress, which is what she was at the time. And Natasha Lyonne like hardcore courted the director of this little film to get the part. And I just have to appreciate that. Aaron can chat now. I feel like I've seen Saved, but now I can't remember if I've seen it or if it's just one of those things where I can see the poster in my head. Because I can definitely see the poster in my head. I would describe it as Glee aesthetic, the Saved poster. Matt Baum has a video essay on... Oh, I think I've watched his video essay on But I'm a Cheerleader, possibly. It feels like something I might have ended up in. Film YouTubers are so interesting because they have to put so much work into making original content about films because so much is done by the mainstream media, like digging it up. Okay, UHF, older TV band, ultra high frequency as opposed to the even older VHF frequency TV set before your time covered channels 2 to 13 that were VHF sets. I don't really understand, but is this just the difference between broadcast TV and cable television? Is that what I'm understanding here? Because we just never had cable and we always had broadcast, so we only had like 5 channels. Aaron will apparently give me a better explanation. Aaron just wanted to chat that the donut was so good. Should we eat the second donut? I think we should probably eat the second donut. Anybody else have any brilliant freezing a sheet of cake to make tiny treats? I'm worried Aaron is going to do that now. That's a very Aaron project. We don't have enough room in the freezer. We're running out of room in the freezer. It's a combination of Aaron is doing an excellent job of like strategizing because we're in like the CSA like peak season right now. And Aaron is doing an excellent job of preserving foods so that we could like continue to have them. But our freezer is not that big. So it is entirely full of like Aaron's made waffles and fritters and vacuum sealed them and sauces and a ton of stuff. And then also I've gone to a couple clothing swaps and come back with wool clothing. So I need to put the wool clothing in the freezer to kill any potential moths so it doesn't like infect. It doesn't look like it has moths, but you can't see them. And so to get rid of the moth eggs, you have to freeze it for like 3 days to a week. So right now our freezer is really out of control. Aaron says we are We are fully spilled over into the freezer in our new house. That is true, although I tried to tell Aaron to not turn on all the refrigerators and freezers because we're already paying a lot in electricity for a house that we don't live in. So, but we do have a hot tub in there now. Old public access TV. Y'all, I think I'm done caring about this. I appreciate everybody trying to explain it to me, but I guess I don't need to know this. That's my conclusion that I've reached. All right. This is the second donut. I don't think we need to do the donut intro again. So, it is a pear chai fritter. So it's a fritter with local Oregon pears in it, and then it has the house-made chai blend glaze. I hope I'm not going to get caffeinated from this. Theoretically, I guess if it's a glaze, it's probably not that caffeinated. Oh. The glaze is hefty. Oh, you can see little dots in the chai glaze. I don't know why I didn't expect the pears to be like cooked, but they're like cooked in. I expected them to be cooked, but like in the donut. But they're pre-cooked and they're in like cinnamon spices or something. Pretty good. I'm already pretty full from that first donut. I have to give that to Aaron. It's a little too sugary for me. I think that's my conclusion. The glaze is like, it's just too much. I do think it's maybe a little unfair. If it had been my first donut, I might not feel this way. But like, I've already had a very sweet donut. And so then having a new one. Aaron is nodding as I say this. So does that mean that Aaron has reached the same conclusion? You did have several big bites. Well, there's a lot less donut than there was when I handed it to you. It's not a 4.5 out of 5. I don't think it's a 4.5. I've had better fritters from them. It's a little too dense in a wet way. Like, because of the cooked pears. I want it to be like a little more fluffy, a little less wet. Claggy? Is claggy what they call it in Bake Off? Yeah, I feel like that's what they... Does it have a soggy bottom? It doesn't have a soggy bottom, but it is... Okay, I'm going to give this... I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. No, a 4 out of... I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It's good, but it's not exceptional. It would get a B. If you made that in a class, I would give you a B. I would not give you an A. You know, in my donut class where all I do is judge the donuts and I don't teach you anything about how to make them. Aaron, I think you're having some grade inflation because you gave the first one a 5 when I gave it a 4.5, and you gave this one a 4.5 when I gave it a 4.
Maybe I'm just hungry.
You might be hungry. I do wonder if they poached them in chai. Normally they'd write something like that in the description, but they just said local pears. What are you doing?
I see some donuts still.
Calm down. That's a snack for later. I really wish you could see the face that Aaron is doing behind the camera, but it's essentially very puppy face. All right. Anybody have any other impulse spending things that we want to talk about?
I continue to come up with impulse spending tips, but like the biggest one I could say is stop letting yourself be sold to. Stop voluntarily giving your information to companies that have figured out how to optimize how to sell you stuff. One of the other options is to reconcile with what you already have. So if you know that you're going to start wanting to purchase, I don't know, new kitchen appliances, go through your kitchen appliances and organize and declutter them. And you're going to start to realize, like, holy crap, I have all these things that I have not used in 6 months, a year, or more. Do I really need a new cast iron pan when I already have 3 different cast iron pans and I only use one of them? Like, have a real conversation with yourself. And if there is a category that you're really prone to doing over consuming or impulse spending in, try to adopt a 1 in, 1 out policy at the very least. So if it still fits your financial goals to do it, but you're like, oh, well, I need 5 more Halloween washi tapes. Well, then take 5 other washi tapes out of your collection. Sell them on a buy-sell trade. If you are someone who purchases a new swimsuit every summer because you need that like little hit and you spend a ton of time out by the pool, then get rid of the old swimsuits. Or if there's not a swimsuit that you can get out of and you never change size and you love all the swimsuits you have, but you buy a new one every year, then what is one other clothing item you do not use that you can kick out of your wardrobe? Start actually thinking about the physical space that things take up, because they take up your energy in terms of the management and the storage of them. They take up your hard-earned time and energy in the form of the money that you earn that you then are spending on those. And they compete with your other financial goals. If you are thinking about something as a discretionary purchase, as an impulse spending, it is having some level of impact on your other financial goals. Will it always slow down progress? No. When I buy a $2.99 bag of rolled tortilla chips at the Trader Joe's grocery store, it is not making a noticeable shift in my progress towards my financial goals, right? I save like on average about $3,000 to $4,000 a month. I am not in the situation where $2.99 is going to make or break or even change the amount that I am putting in savings. But that $3.99 is taking a toll in other ways. It's making me, for example, fill up on snacks before I eat the healthy food in my fridge. And then sometimes healthy food goes bad that I've already purchased because I have a CSA. When I am buying yet another planner, that is a great example of like, I have a thing where I don't like to get rid of any of my old planners. And I partially justify it from the like, oh, it's helpful to be able to show size comparisons and stuff like that on live streams. But I also like totally fully filled out planners I hold on to because I like to look back at my old planners. But that I have many years of planners now. I have like almost 30 years of planners. And that means that every time I buy a new planner, I am like committing to holding it on, carrying it on for the rest of time. So you have to really have a consequential discussion with yourself of, is this going to be something I am going to try to give away or clear out of my house in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years? Where is it going to be in 5 years is very, very helpful. And if you're like, well, one, I don't even know where it's going to get stored when I get it to the house, maybe not a great idea. Like if you're thinking about, I don't know, purchasing a giant cat wheel and there's nowhere to store it. I can't tell if Aaron's listening. He's ignoring me because we have a giant cat wheel in our 550 square foot studio. Here's the thing. The cat wheel would have been amazing if the cats would run on it, but they don't. So now we have just a giant cat wheel, and clutter is attracted to other clutter. So the problem is like all of our other stuff just keeps congregating around the cat wheel, and we already have very little floor. So, another thing I'll do when I have extra money is I'll buy little things I love, like sheet masks and knickknacks at shops, and put them in a box that is gift treats. I give them away and sometimes pick one out to keep. Oh, interesting. I like that. So you're buying them as like small gifts that you can have ready in your house. As someone who's really bad at gift giving, I like the idea of just having something ready made. I need to start giving people sheet masks because when I came back from, I had like a 12-hour layover in South Korea, and I got a bunch of sheet masks and everything at the airport, but they like come in packs of like 50 at the airport. So now I have more than I can possibly go through in a reasonable fashion. I've been thinking about having, especially once we move into the new house, we'll have space to host again. Like we don't have a table right now, so it makes it challenging to host more than one person at a time. And also our house has a giant cat wheel in it and a bunch of crap on the floor, so I don't really invite people over here. But one of the things that I've been thinking about is hosting very, very low key, no cost kind of friend hangouts. And I don't know if you even call it hosting if it's like only one or two friends, but one of the things is that I can start having people over for sheet masks because I have so many sheet masks that I can use. They all fit in like a box, like yay big. I have them all organized, but it's like I would have to do a sheet mask twice a day for a year to go through all the sheet masks I feel like I have. Oh my gosh. I found the thing that you impulse bought, Giovanni. I like how I just start looking around in my house and naming objects, and eventually I find one that someone does. I am very jealous of your Le Creuset pot. This is a great example of something I have wanted for years, but I am very determined to find it secondhand. And part of the problem is the Le Creuset actually hold their value pretty well. And so if you want to get it secondhand, you usually have to find it for a good price. You have to like score it at an estate sale or something. Like you can't find them on eBay or secondhand. I really do want a beautiful Le Creuset, like colored cast iron enamel. We use our cast irons every day and I love them, but they're $25 cast irons and not enameled ones, and they're fine. I would like to do it when we move into the new place, but we'll see. But it's also like, I'm not in a rush. Like I've wanted a Le Creuset for like 10 years. I have looked when they've been on sale, but so many of the sales are fake sales. They're kind of like permanently on 20% off sale at Sur La Table. And so, yeah. I'm a sucker for Korean sheet masks, but they fit in envelopes for cute little gifts so nicely. That's a great idea. I just never thought about doing that. But it's also, okay, I am so bad at giving gifts. And so I like giving people gifts because I'm not good at like the perfect gift that you know that they'll use. And I hate just like getting crap to give to people that they might not use and it's just going to clutter up their house. But I like a sheet mask because it's like, I'm thinking of you, I recognize you, but if you don't want to use one, you could use this and it'll be fun night or whatever, like to have a cool sheet mask, or you could pass it on to someone else. And it's like not going to permanently take up space in your house. So thank you for the idea. The cat wheel has its own gravity like a black hole, and the event horizon is where all the clutter congregates. It's bad. Right now, a lot of it's my problem. Part of the other problem is that like we are on 3 levels and in this loft. And so, but we have to go on an outdoor staircase to get to like where our bikes park, where the laundry is. And that means that stuff comes up and down off the bikes, and then the empty bags will be waiting to go back down to the bikes. But then now there's just like a pile of shit there. Also, there's so many shoes, and that's all me. That's like Aaron owns like 2 pairs of shoes. I own 97 pairs of shoes. I've had good luck with scoring non-Crusade brand Dutch ovens at thrift, but Le Crusade hard time. Yeah, I would be happy with Staub, but I also want it to be like a colored enamel cast iron. I'm not in a rush. It'll happen at some point. We didn't have a wedding and therefore did not have an excuse to ask for ridiculously priced kitchen items. But we saved a lot of money in not having a wedding. And so my thought has always been like, I could just buy myself a KitchenAid or a Le Creuset because we didn't have a wedding. Also, it's going to be like our 5th anniversary in February. And we were like, we got married during COVID. And we were like, oh, we'll have a housewarming and that will be it. 5 years. 5 years, guys. Ridiculous. Tell me about it. We have sets and sets of dishes and specialty glass. We never entertain. Why are all the cabinets full of dishes? I feel like dishes become this very loaded thing in a lot of Western cultures, like European and North American cultures. You know, it's quite common in Asia, especially in India, like women will get gold bracelets as part of their like investment. And so they'll get like gifted gold at their wedding and they'll have that as like part of their wedding set. And it's economic security because the gold can always, like the jewelry can always be converted if they are widowed or they need to get out of a bad marriage or whatever. Like the gold is a savings account for the jewelry. And I feel like there's this pervasive belief around nice dishes amongst the grandmothers and the great grandmothers in European and Western culture. And this is really just like my gut instinct more than it is a highly researched video essay. But I just want to say you can be freed by the nice dishes of your great grandmother. They take up so much room. And if you aren't getting joy out of them and you aren't using them regularly, you can let them go. I hadn't planned on getting married, so my idea was to have a never married register. I'll list normal wedding registry and people can buy me stuff. The twist, if I do get married, you get a 20% return on your investment. That's hilarious. I will also say, because I live on the West Coast US, all my friends got married, like, most of my friends were in their 30s when they got married, or their 40s or older. And because of that, no one wanted stuff. Like, I have bought so few things as wedding gifts. I just give people cash or I make a donation to a charity. And, like, no one needs to buy me a Le Creuset or whatever. I am going to a wedding for, well, hopefully I need to deal with booking the tickets. That's on my list. In April. And this cousin is like 15 years younger than me and therefore in the category of, but they're also like midway through a PhD. They need kitchen stuff? Oh, I like that. I like the idea that you have people helping you find your partner because they're motivated for a return on investment. I think you're kind of, the flip side of this is that most people just they just view wedding gifts as like a sunk cost. It's like the cost of attendance. One of my favorite weddings I went to is that you had to bring a recipe on a recipe card. Like, and it could be a family recipe or just something you're really good at cooking or whatever. And that was everybody's present. And I thought that was excellent because they essentially filled up a whole recipe box with all of these recipes from family and everything. And I thought that was just such an exceptional way to do it. And it's like low cost, but it's done with love. And then you're constantly reminded of people in a way that you aren't when you're like, oh, so glad that great Aunt Gilda bought me this, lemon peeler or whatever. I'm trying to think of like typical gifts. I do think that like wedding gifts make a lot less sense for like older marriages because you're like, nobody needs more crap. But the other thing that the other category of like buying stuff for people for life events is like baby showers, and baby showers are like actually make a ton of sense because babies are expensive. And also if you have a lot of friends that have already had kids, they have great suggestions about what you do and don't need, I feel like. So that's one of those categories where I'm like, yes, I get it. But this is also why a lot of people don't have baby showers for like their second or third kid or whatever, because they end up having a lot of that stuff already. Where's your stand mixer? Okay, I have to say that I tend to be the one that's like, we don't need another kitchen appliance. We are not going to use it very often. And then Erin has an Amazon Prime account and just things just show up. And this is part of compromise. I benefit from the things. I'm not going to say that I am signing off on acquiring them. And I will also say that we have done multiple declutters now across multiple houses where we have like collectively found kitchen things that we are not using. And then we have like put them in storage and then set reminders to be like 6 months later, did one of you use the thing? And we did that. And Erin, waffle makers, was on that list, and Erin hadn't used it in like a year. And then when he got that reminder, he then went and stubbornly started turning everything into a waffle. And then he got 3 more waffle makers. 3? 4? You have 4?
I only use 2.
Oh, so it sounds like Erin said, I only use 2. So it sounds like you need to get rid of some. Because you have like mini. Erin just started getting like different sizes and varieties of waffle makers. They all do different things. And I will say, I benefit from the waffle makers. I'm not crapping on the waffle makers. I do feel like most of our appliances have to live on the counter because we don't have a big enough kitchen. And right now, Erin, every time he does a batch cook, he has to take the part of the clutter is the cleaned appliances have to wait to go downstairs because we don't have anywhere in our kitchen for them. Also, Erin bought like 2 more absolutely unnecessary appliances and then filled up a cabinet that was meant to be the empty cabinet that we grow into. And before we've even moved into the house, there's now 2 new appliances in there. There is a dehydrator, which takes up the entire large cabinet that we had that was meant to be like the extra room. And then the a slushy machine with like that just appeared one day. My mom had her KitchenAid since the early 70s. She passed away last November. Only the motor's brush needs to be replaced. We did talk about getting a Vitamix because I used to work in commercial kitchens and we would have Vitamixes and they're amazing. They're really tall though. They have to live out on your counter. And I'm really trying to like make everything go into the cabinets, but Erin keeps filling those cabinets with appliances before we even move in. What? Yeah, I don't know. The problem with the KitchenAid mixers and the Vitamixes now is they just don't make them the way they used to. And so the idea that you could just replace the motor, I don't think that's true. I think that 70s KitchenAid mixer is probably better than a brand new KitchenAid that you buy today. Okay, Aaron's Mitch says, waffle irons are like 1 iron per neighborhood. Everyone near my parents' place just passes around the one we own. Yes, which was the conclusion we reached. However, we are now doing waffles as weekend breakfasts. So waffles are our early morning breakfast. We eat tacos on the days that we wake up at like 5:36, and then the days that I wake up at 3:40 in the morning, we do waffles because we don't have any doors, and like cooking waffles at that hour would like make all of the taco smell waft up to the loft where Aaron is sleeping. But also it just takes longer. Like the waffles take like 8 to 11 minutes to like prepare for one person, like between all the doing things. And the waffles, we can just set them and forget them in the air fryer. But Aaron batch cooks them. And the speed of the batch cooking was significantly improved by having the second larger waffle maker. But Aaron had also gotten a mini waffle maker because it was cute. And that was meant to be a replacement for the old waffle maker, which I did make Aaron get rid of, right? Or do you still have it? Aaron did not get rid of the old waffle maker. So I think there's actually 5 waffle makers. Are you sure?
Belgian, mini, and 2 ones I actually use.
Belgian, mini, 2 actual ones you use. Okay. 4. There's 4 waffle makers. The mini is very cute. The Vitamixes are amazing. They're really good. I don't know if it makes sense for us because we have a very good now blender and a good food processor. And the Vitamix kind of does both those things, but I don't know if we need it. And then Aaron also bought a slushie maker. The slushie machine just appeared one day. We don't have anywhere to store it. I don't know why it's here. Aaron figured out how to run it off battery on the back of his bicycle, which I guess was a fun project for him. Oh, yes. Aaron wants everybody to know that this is for making slushies in the park. I don't think that Aaron needs any more kitchen appliances or projects right now, but whatever makes you happy. Okay, Eric says parallel processing the waffles. Okay, but genuinely, it still is like a 2 or 3 hour project to like batch. How many weeks do you do at a time? Like 6 to 8? 8 to 10 weeks, which is ends up being, we do 4 waffles a day, 2 days a week. So it's 8 waffles. So that ends up being 80 waffles. So it's like the stacks of waffles are like this high. And then Aaron, more machines that Aaron has bought. I'm just making fun of all the machines that Aaron has bought now. More machines Aaron has bought. A thing that seals bags, a vacuum packer machine. And those are 2 separate machines, right?
No, it's combined.
It's combined. There's one machine that will
Vacuum and seal.
But don't you have one that crimps the end of things
You
too?
have that. For tea.
Yeah, but didn't you get another one? I thought you got a smaller one. Okay. We apparently have that as well. Aaron's like, the slushie machine was a huge hit at Girl by Bike. Where was I at Girl by Bike? I was out of town. Oh, probably getting COVID. Yes, Aaron turned which CSA veggies? Squash. Because we're like, it's like fall, end of summer squash season. So we're drowning in squash right now. And there's like only so many things that you can do. You can just make a lot of soups, really. Then Aaron turned them into fritters one night. And that was excellent because I was like, I can't eat any more soup.
Waffles are the opposite of soup.
Yes, they are. They're the waffles. Well, and they were like fritters. So they were... We go through hot sauce too fast to freeze it at this point. Yeah, that's true. It's just stored in our fridge, which also doesn't have room because of all the food processing. But I'm not complaining about the food processing. I am complaining about all the appliances that are apparently necessary to do it. Okay, y'all. Please don't have Aaron convince you to buy more. Do not buy more appliances. Do not buy more appliances. Don't listen to Aaron. We don't have anywhere to... We live in 550 square feet, okay? Which is why the appliances are being stored, like, in the garage. Which isn't even a real garage. It's a bike parking space, laundry room, 3D printer, laser cutter, every electronic Aaron has ever bought on a shelf, utility sink, and server room. That's all in one, and the room is not like a normal garage sized. It's like
6 feet wide.
6 feet wide, yeah. So, but I am responsible for probably the largest things in there, which are 3 of my bikes, which isn't all of my bikes. So, I actually regret. So when we were moving in, when we were prepping to move in, we were doing a lot of pressuring, I think mutually, of like, we need to like downsize and clean up and get rid of anything, especially like that space we spent like almost 6 months cleaning up before we moved in here. And I got rid of my old Cannondale bike frame because it didn't have a front wheel, and I hadn't used it for years because it was like not fully built up anymore. This is the bike that I tore down the Pacific Coast on, but it was like a CCC parts bike, but it was so light as a frame. And I donated it, and I now regret donating it. I actually think I could have built it up into something else cool, and I had a lot of sentimentality for that bike, and now I kind of regret getting rid of it because it was like a good go fast bike. But that being said, do I need it? No, I don't. I didn't need it. I wasn't using it for years, so. We need a bigger house. Well, we're getting a bigger house someday. Aaron, I watched our last House Files video, which was uploaded in like July. But I think it was filmed like a couple months prior to that. And we have made a lot of progress, but also I think if you had asked us in that video if we would not be moved in by now, we would have said, oh, we'll absolutely be moved in by October.
I still would have said we don't know because of electricity. Cannot promise anything.
Well, we have the electricity now. Why aren't we moved in?
Yeah, we do. Yes.
Yeah, Aaron. Well, but Aaron was also getting shed creep because the shed was getting out of control. All right, this is just turning into an episode of the House Files / Lillian Gripes About. I benefit from all of Aaron's appliance purchases, and so I don't really begrudge it. Once Aaron starts giving me shit about the amount of planners and washi tape I have, then I will give him shit about the appliances. But for now, we both spend our money on the things we spend our money on. It's fine. Everything's fine. My 2026 planner is coming this week, and stop me if you've heard this one before. I am going to film an edited video about it. I'm really going to do it this time, guys. My YouTube channel turns 20 in December. It turns 20 years old. My first uploaded video was in like May of 2026. So I think we could count that as like the 20-year anniversary of like actually making videos. But really got to figure it out there. All right. Y'all, thank you so much for being joining in this live stream. I'm glad I don't have a union meeting tonight. I hope this was helpful. I feel like it was a little disorganized, but maybe that's exactly how an impulse spending live stream should go. I've done at least 3 or 4 other live streams on how to deal with impulse spending. So you can go check my channel and the budgetober playlists, and you should be able to find things if you're find this after we've aired it live and you're anxious for more impulse control things. Next week's live stream will be at the same usual time on Tuesday at 4:30. The week after that, I am doing a live event in Portland with the Big Dig podcast that's visiting from Boston, WGBH.
We're talking about the history of highways and what to do with highways. I have 2 special guests from Portland. I'm very excited about it. It is in the evening on Tuesday, and there's a possibility I'm going to have to do union bargaining during the day. So I might move the live stream. I am considering moving the live stream to Friday that week because it is Halloween and doing a trick-or-treating live stream. And like we hang out in our costumes while we wait for trick-or-treaters. We get like 7 trick-or-treaters tops in our neighborhood. I think one year we got like 13. So we don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters over the course of like several hours, but I thought it could be fun and it would be on a Halloween night. Haven't really figured it out yet, but anyway, look for possibly a different time for that stream that week. It might be a different day of the week, or it might just be a little bit bigger. Yeah, WGBH, Big Dig. Very excited about it. I'm co-hosting with Ian Koss of the Big Dig podcast. It's gonna be at Literary Arts in Portland, which is a pretty cool venue. And I'm going to be there right after Elizabeth Gilbert. So, you know, obviously I'm on the same level as the Eat, Pray, Love author. Okay, tell me what you're looking forward to this week, guys, before we go. I'm looking forward to my new planner coming. I think that, like, I also have boots coming tomorrow that I ordered in July. And I'm excited about them, but when I ordered them, I was like, these are winter boots, and it's weird to order them now, but I'm gonna be so excited to have them in the fall. But it's like been boot season for like a month, so now I'm almost like sad that it's been so long without the boots. But yes, I am excited to I'm glad Big Dig is going to Portland. It's Monday in Seattle with Greg Nichols. I haven't seen that former mayor in years. Yeah, he's coming down here for a big like conference about it used to be called Railvolution, now it's called Impact, but it's like a urbanism, economic development, and transportation conference. I will be going to some of the panels on it that week. So maybe just show up as press in my TriMet outfit from Halloween last year. Giovanni is looking forward to cleaning my Le Creuset pot. I'm excited for you too. Mitch says, it's cold enough to wear jackets finally. I'm looking forward to wearing my jackets and flannel. Same, actually. Like, I have so many jackets, and all of my jackets do different things. And they've just been so sad and taking up so much space because we have no closets. And I keep acquiring them, much like Erin keeps acquiring appliances. So that also, one of my cats loves to lay on my raincoats, so she keeps pulling them down and then like making a pile out of them. But this is really just me processing why my house is so messy. Thank you all for being here. I hope everybody enjoys their sweaters, their flannel jackets. What other things are people doing? Cleaning your Le Creuset pan. Also happy to be wearing fleece again. Man, the amount of people that are excited about fall transitional warm clothing. I'm on board. I have a lot of good sweaters, so it's time to rock them. All right, y'all. It has been lovely to see you here this week. Until next week, stay safe, stay hydrated, pet a cat if you have one available, and I will see you all soon. Bye!